Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unstarving Musician. I am your host, Robonzo. This is my podcast. How are you? Where are you? And what are you wearing? These are the things I must know. Forgive me, my voice is going to be a little hoarse. I've been singing earlier today, getting ready for a show, and so now here I am trying to talk to you. Earlier today, I spoke with musician Corey Wade. Nice guy and funny. He'll be in our next episode, but I wanted to shout out that Corey has a new single that drops April 28th. His new song is called Tonic and Gin. I imagine you'll be able to find info about it on his website, CoreyWadeOfficial.com. It's been a while since Corey's released any original music, but I listened to a bit of his existing stuff, and he sounds great. So check it out. His new single drops on the 28th. April 28, CoreyWadeOfficial.com. The single is going to be called Tonic and Gin. Best of luck, Corey. Can't wait for you guys to hear his episode, our next episode, dropping in a couple of weeks. A few years ago, I recorded what was only my second solo episode number 62, and I dedicated it entirely to house concerts. At that point, I'd done 3 or 4 interviews touching on the topic. I was fascinated by the model, and I was starting to think about doing them myself in Panama, where I was at the time. That episode was early. I was still figuring it out. Since then, I have had several more conversations and performed a handful of house concerts, both of which have sharpened the picture considerably for me, and the topic landed in our deep dive library, waiting for this moment to resurface. What you're about to hear is a complete operational framework for house concerts, built from 5 separate conversations with Tom Meny, who calls himself a self-appointed ambassador for house concerts, Amy Killingsworth, who co-founded Amy and Gary's House Concerts in San Antonio, which I think has moved to the Houston area. And at that time, they'd hosted over 25 events in 2018 when we spoke. Shannon Curtis, who abandoned club touring in favor of annual house concert tours and wrote the book on it literally. Nicole Wagner, an Austin-based singer-songwriter who's been on both sides of the house concert experience, and my own experience performing house concerts, educating hosts, and recording episode 62 on the topic added in to the mix. The framework covers why this model works, how to break into it, how to build your own circuit, what the economics look like, and what it takes to do this as a sustainable part of your touring strategy. So let's get into it. Shannon Curtis didn't plan to abandon club touring. She started doing house concerts as filler dates, something to fill the gaps in a West Coast club tour schedule. She and her husband Jamie just wanted to see if anyone from her mailing list would host a show while she was passing through. After 5 months of running both in parallel, they looked at the math, the data, and on every metric, money, mailing list growth, CD sales, social engagement, and the quality of experience itself, the house concerts were winning. Not slightly, but hands down winning. That's not an anecdote either. It's an experiment with a clear result. Those kids are kind of scientifically minded, Shannon and Jamie. That's how they figured it out. The reason isn't complicated. House concerts remove everything that makes venue shows harder. No split with the bar, no competing with ambient noise, no one checking their phone while you're playing your most vulnerable or favorite song. The audience came specifically for you. They're seated where they can see your eyes. They've already eaten together. They're invested. Tom Meny put it clearly. An established house concert series has a mailing list of hundreds or thousands of people who trust the host's judgment. They show up regardless of who's playing because the host has earned that trust. For a performing artist, that's a built-in audience, something most venue bookings cannot guarantee. Ray Prim compared trying to learn about house concerts to learning about the Illuminati. That metaphor made me laugh, as it still does, but I understand. I understood at the time. The scene exists, people are doing this, and yet it feels like an insider network with no obvious entry point. Here's what actually works based on multiple practitioners. First, find and attend house concerts in your area. They're private events, but hosts post them on social media, on platforms like Concerts in Your Home, Meetup, on Nextdoor. If you're looking, you can find them. Once you're there, you're in the room with the host, with other guests who may also host, and with a community that values this kind of event. Second, be explicit that you're interested in performing. Amy Killingsworth talked about an artist named Brian Pounds who had appeared on The Voice and who regularly sent her thoughtful, personalized emails expressing interest in performing at Amy and Gary's. The key word there is thoughtful. Amy made clear that generic template outreach doesn't make the cut. Personalized, genuine, specific, that's what gets a response. Third, you just heard first and second. Third, use Folk Alliance. Tom Meny described the Regional Folk Alliance conferences as structured networking events where house concert hosts specifically set up hotel room showcases to discover new artists. If you can get into a guerrilla showcase, now formerly called private showcases, at one of those events, you're performing directly for people who book house concerts. That's a remarkably direct path. Fourth, consider the networks with caution. Shannon Curtis looked into one of the major house concert matching platforms early on and found that it required an application fee, then another fee to access the host list. Then you were still cold contacting strangers. That's not meaningfully different from booking venues the traditional way. Her conclusion? Build from your own community instead. Okay, so what do the numbers and the economics look like? Tom Meny gave clear numbers. A donation of $20 to $25 a person, attendance ranging from 30 people at smaller established series to 150 at a barn in Rhode Island. Run that math. 30 guests at $20, $600. 50 at 25, $1,250. 100 guests at $20, $2,000. 150 guests at 25, $3,750. Plus merch, plus mailing list signups from an audience that just spent 2 hours in an intimate setting with you. Tom's minimum threshold thought 10 people at $20 is $200. That may not cover a long drive, but it adds warm contacts to your list. Contacts who may host their own show next time. The format is standard and replicable. Potluck dinner, everyone brings food, the host coordinates. 45-minute set, maybe 2 sets, with a 20 to 25-minute break in between for merch sales and conversation. 90 minutes of performance, structured, predictable, manageable. One important rule: because these are private events, they operate outside of ASCAP and BMI licensing requirements. Private means the address isn't publicly listed. Attendance is by invitation through a mailing list or private communication. The trade-off is that artists play only original music, no covers. Tom mentioned this explicitly, and Amy confirmed it as the reason she recommends hosts join Folk Alliance for guidance on navigating these requirements. Okay, so building your own circuit. This is the framework that separates the house concert approach from just booking more gigs. Shannon Curtis doesn't reach out to established house concert hosts. She reaches out to people who know her music, supporters, community members, and asks whether they'd like to host an intimate concert for their friends. Most of her new hosts each year were guests at a show the previous year. The community grows itself through direct experience. Her email list is the engine. Not social media, email. She owns those connections. Social platforms change, but her list doesn't. She uses her newsletter to send updates that include human things, like her reactions to what's happening in the world, meaningful moments from recent shows, stories. Not just new album, new tour. The goal is to deepen the relationship between events, not just announce when she's passing through. The operational implication: every house concert is also a recruiting event for future hosts. Tom Meny has explicitly done this. He told his audience at every show the host made this happen, how easy it is, how rewarding it is, and invites anyone interested to talk to him or the host after the show. He was planting seeds for his next tour from the rooms he was performing in. This is what creating a market actually looks like. You're not waiting to be discovered by an established network. You're building the network yourself, show by show, mailing list sign up by mailing list sign up. Here's what the host needs. This is kind of the other side of the model. Amy Killingsworth is an exceptional data point because she thought systematically about what it takes to sustain a house concert series. She promoted each show across 9 channels, her own mailing list, roughly 400 contacts at the time across multiple lists, multiple meetup groups, Facebook, Nextdoor, Bands in Town, Eventbrite, and Concerts in Your Home. She also created a separate meetup group to teach others how to host. Her motivation? Attendance is the only way the artist makes money. She treats audience growth as her primary job because without an audience, the whole model fails. Her data point on new versus returning attendees, roughly half of all guests at each show are first-timers. That's sustained audience growth from multi-channel promotion, not just recycling the same regulars. For performing artists, this means your relationship with a host is a partnership. You're not just booking a gig. The host is investing time, energy, food, promotional effort, and sometimes equipment into making your show work. That deserves genuine respect and reciprocity. Helping promote the show to your own audience, following up with a real thank you, and treating their guests as your future supporters. Amy's advice to new hosts: don't be intimidated by a high production series. Go to house concerts, take what works for your situation, discard what doesn't. There are no fixed rules except making it a genuine listening experience. She said some people see her set up with fresh flowers and full dinner service and think they can't do it. She tells them they're wrong. An apartment clubhouse works, a friend's backyard works. The space is less important than the intention. Let's talk about a mindset shift to supporter as opposed to fan. This might be the most important section in the episode. Jamie Curtis spent time between the first and second editions of her book removing every instance of the word fan and replacing it with supporter or member of my community. The fan-artist relationship felt artistically divided to her. The big star up on the stage, the crowd looking up. House concerts created something different. Shared meals, real conversation, ongoing relationships. That continued through her newsletter. That's not a semantic distinction. It's a business model distinction. When your audience is fans, you're performing for them. When they're supporters, you're building something with them. The difference shows up in whether they host your next show, whether they tell their friends, whether they stay connected through a newsletter, next album, whether they buy your next album before it hits streaming. Nicole Wagner's experience with Patreon is instructive here too. She initially scoped it narrowly to new songs, burned out when she didn't have enough output, shut it down. When she came back during the pandemic, she broadened it, archiving old interviews, reflecting on songwriting, sharing her Nancy Griffith tribute work. The second iteration was more sustainable because it was more human, not just transactional. House concerts are, at their best, the same thing. A human experience built on real relationships, not a transaction. The house concert model asks something different of you than a venue booking does. It asks you to build something rather than to wait for someone to book you into something. That's harder in some ways, but the artists who've committed to it, Shannon Curtis running a 7-year annual touring circuit built entirely from her own community, Tom Meny using Folk Alliance and Kerrville connections to build a network across multiple states, Amy Killingsworth hosting 25 plus, maybe 50 plus by now, and teaching others to do the same. They've built something that venues can't take away. A few immediate next steps if you're interested. Find a house concert in your area and attend it as a guest. Get on Amy Killingsworth mailing list and watch how she promotes shows. Read Shannon Curtis's book. It's called No Booker, No Bouncer, No Bartender, and it's available at shannoncurtis.net. And start telling people explicitly that you're interested in performing house concerts. You can also visit the house concert page on my artist website, robonzo.com/house concerts, so you can see what I'm up to in marketing myself for house concerts. The market doesn't find you, you build it. The upcoming episode companion edition of Liner Notes Insider will include a house concert launch kit, a space evaluation checklist so you know what to look for before committing to a venue, host communication templates for every stage of the relationship from first outreach to post-show follow-up, a donation structure calculator to model whether a show makes financial sense before you book it, and a house concert host guide template you can send to anyone you're recruiting to host their first show. If you're not yet a Liner Notes subscriber, the free edition covers frameworks from this and 340 plus conversations at unstarvingmusician.com. Liner Notes Insider gets you the complete implementation tools. Visit unstarvingmusician.com/insider to learn more. And until then, keep creating. As an independent podcaster, your support means the world to me. You could even say I depend on it. With that in mind, here are some things you can do to help support us. Follow us on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Or shoot me a review by email, robonzo@unstarvingmusician.com, that I can use on the website. Or just share this episode with a friend. This makes a huge impact on our audience growth. You could also visit our crowd sponsor page at unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to learn of the many other ways of supporting the podcast, including a quick and easy online tip jar. It's like click, tip, done, easy and super appreciated. You'll find many ways of showing your support there, including through our affiliate partners like Bandzoogle, Kit, Email, formerly ConvertKit, DreamHost, and others. The music you're hearing is New Gods Part 2, the instrumental mix by yours truly. You can hear the full version, download it, or buy it at robonzo.com. And if all this was too much to remember or process, just go to the show notes for this episode at unstarvingmusician.com to find links to all the stuff talked about in this episode. You can leave us feedback, questions, comments, complaints at unstarvingmusician.com/feedback. Thanks for listening. Peace, gratitude, and a whole lot of love.